Firstly, this sample board was recently grouted. Before grouting, it is always recommended to use grout release. Grout release is a thin temporary sealer that's applied to the surface of the terracotta before the grout is spread across the surface. Grout application usually requires spreading across the entire surface to fill the grout joints, and then the surface is cleaned with water and a sponge. Using a grout release before the grout application will significantly reduce the labor of removing the grout from the surface of the tile. After the grout has been cleaned from the surface, it's very common to have some grout residue left on the tile. Even a very thorough cleaning, there's still going to be some grout residue, which is often referred to as grout haze, stuck to the surface of the tile. Grout haze should be removed before sealer is applied to the tile and grout surface. There's a bunch of reputable products for removing grout haze from tile surface. Here's two examples. This is Stone Tech and this is Miracle. The major categories for grout haze removers are going to be, most of them, conventional grout haze removers are going to be acidic, which can be corrosive, and non-acidic. Acidic grout haze removers are definitely more common. Clay Imports does advise against using acid-based products on clay or unglazed materials. That is because the acid can work its way into the pores of the surface and start to deteriorate or corrode the actual clay. That being said, if an acid-based product is used heavily diluted, the likelihood of it resulting in any damage is minimal or really none. Following the manufacturer's instructions, we're going to dilute this at approximately 10 parts water, 1 part grout haze remover. Grout haze remover can be diluted as needed. If you have a lot of grout haze left on your tile, which is usually a sign that it was not cleaned thoroughly during the installation process, then you may need a less diluted version. Grout haze remover is designed to remove as much excess or unwanted residue from the surface of the tile as possible without damaging the tile or the grout. Grout haze removers should always be rinsed with water after cleaning. After cleaning and thoroughly rinsing, the surface needs to be completely dry before sealer is applied. Unlike the grout haze remover, penetrating sealer is not designed to be diluted. The coverage is approximately between 50 and 100 square feet per quart. The reason for so much range on the coverage is due to the density of the product that you're sealing. We're most likely going to get about 100 square feet per quart on the Clay Imports Cotto terracottas. Application of the Clay Imports penetrating sealer is very easy. Just pour the sealer into a bucket, then use a clean, dry sponge for application. This is the Clay Imports Ultra Low VOC sealant. This is Clay Imports' penetrating sealant. They both work great on terracotta. The Ultra Low VOC, in addition to it being low VOC, it's also going to have a satin finish, whereas the penetrating dries in a natural matte finish. The penetrating is essentially going to keep the terracotta looking as natural as possible, meaning as minimal change as possible, whereas the ultra low VOC is going to result in not only a satin finish, but it's going to darken the tile up a little bit. You can see a little bit of foam left on the surface of the tile after applying the penetrating sealant. That's completely fine for the penetrating sealant. It's penetrating, so it's going to soak into the tile. It's not going to dry in a hard layer on the surface of the tile. Whatever foam might dry on the tile before it dissolves can be easily brushed away afterwards. With the ultra low VOC, you don't want to leave foam on top of the surface of the tile. If you see any foam using the ultra low VOC, you want to wipe that residue away before it dries. I'm now applying the second coat of penetrating sealer. You can apply up to 4 or even 5 coats. Every coat that you apply is going to go on easier and absorb less, meaning the coverage would be greater. The sealer is now completely dry, approximately 24 hours after application. The sample board has approximately 4 coats of sealer on the surface, including tile and the grout. For one of our comparisons, I've put 4 pieces of uninstalled tile on top of the sample board to compare the sheen and the color changes. Firstly, sheen, it's almost nothing. There's no gloss or sheen on the sealed tiles, and this has approximately 4 coats of sealer versus out of the box, no sealer. Then color, of course this tile has a lot of color variation in it. There's a lot of range of terracotta here, but if we look at the comparable tones, again, almost no color change at all. And again, this is a penetrating sealer, Clay Imports penetrating sealer, approximately 4 coats. Now we're going to test the functionality of the sealer. And now for the functionality test of the sealer, I'm going to pour fresh brewed coffee onto unsealed tile and the sealed surface for comparison. And we'll make sure that we get the grout also. The coffee's been sitting on the surface of the unsealed and the sealed tile for about 5 minutes now, and for the cleanup test, I'm just going to use regular paper towels. Yeah, I mean, that was about as effortless as it could possibly be, and there's no discoloration on the tile or the grout. And now for the unsealed piece, and again, our Cotto tiles are very dense, meaning they're not super susceptible to absorbing moisture and staining. And the unsealed piece, which Cotto is very dense and not very susceptible to absorbing moisture and staining. You can see a little bit of an outline of where the coffee was spilled, but not bad, and it certainly didn't clean up as easy as the sealed surface did. When finishing your Cotto installation, it's always recommended to use a penetrating sealer on the finished surface, the tile and the grout. Penetrating sealers are not going to change the sheen, and they're not going to change the color. They're going to maintain the natural look while still providing a maximum or a very high level of moisture protection, meaning that moisture is going to be far less likely to absorb into the tile, resulting in a stain. Lastly, if for some reason you do want to have a sheen on this tile, the penetrating sealer is going to be a matte finish because the goal is for it to maintain the original natural out-of-the-box look. But if you do want a gloss finish or a semi-gloss or a satin finish, penetrating sealers can be used with topical sealer. Clay Imports' ultra low VOC sealant is a topical sealer, and it can be used on top of penetrating sealer, meaning after the layers of penetrating sealer have been applied and completely dried, the topical sealer, ultra low VOC topical sealants, can be used on top of the penetrating sealer to provide not only a little bit of sheen, but also a little more protection.